Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Curran from the Ottawa Business Journal. Welcome to Techopia Live. This is a regular podcast from OBJ that focuses on the technology sector. We shine a spotlight on the up-and-comers, keep you updated on the established players, all with a goal of keeping the tech sector informed and connected. All right, today we've got a bonus episode of Techopia Live. Let me explain that for a second. So Techopia is a very important local business journalism initiative here at OBJ that focuses, of course, on the technology sector. And there's lots of different aspects of Techopia. There's regular web reporting that's on obj.ca. We have a weekly email newsletter that currently goes out on Mondays. We do quarterly reports in our news magazine. We've got an annual magazine with our friends from EY. And there's this podcast. So that's a lot of work. And you might be thinking, like, how do you undertake and quite frankly, pay for all of that? Well, the answer in part is we have various champions. These are some great local companies that fund our journalism product. And today we're going to be focused on one of them in particular. This is a champion. That's the word we use at Techopia for these people that joined us from day one. So I remember pitching it to them, and they've been an enthusiastic supporter. This is a locally headquartered law firm with many different practice groups. But from an OBJ perspective, there's a practice group that sets it apart. Of course, it's the business law group. And its business lawyers have quite literally represented some of the pioneers in tech, going back way back when this law firm recently celebrated a couple of years back its 50th anniversary. So they've represented both the past and the current, the cutting edge companies that are involved in technology. So I am talking about Perley-Robertson, Hill, and McDougall. And today we've got a guest from the business law group at Perley-Robertson. He is a corporate and securities lawyer with a focus on mergers and acquisitions, corporate finance, corporate and commercial matters. Also, an interesting factoid on today's guest, he served 15 years in the Canadian Army Reserves. In fact, he was deployed in Kandahar, Afghanistan from 2008 to 2009. So that's a little bit of a color about our guest. Without further ado, here is Brian Kells. Hello,
Hi,
Brian.
Michael. Hi.
Great to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah, exciting and to have you and explore a topic, as people will learn here in a few minutes, that this episode is going to focus a lot on AI, artificial intelligence, and more specifically some of the legal ramifications of that. But before we get into AI, Brian, I'd love to have you share a little bit of your personal info and what you do at Perley.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a lawyer at Perley-Robertson, practicing a broad range of corporate, commercial, securities laws, all different areas of law that are important to businesses in the Ottawa area. I've been practicing for about 8 years now at Perley's, and we're the largest independent firm in Ottawa. We have lawyers offering full service in areas including employment law, intellectual property, commercial litigation, real estate. Essentially, if you're a business in the Ottawa area, we are able to assist you.
Absolutely. You got that straight. So, Brian, as both of us know, the technology, when I think of it, kind of goes in these big waves, these giant trends. And Terry Matthews, kind of one of the tech titans in Ottawa, has talked about that a lot. He's been very good over the years of spotting these waves. And there's a current wave, you might even call it a tsunami, right? That's artificial intelligence. And all of us are kind of grappling with this, Brian, but I just wanted to start off, given your experience in corporate law, any kind of general thoughts on where we're at in terms of AI these days?
Yeah, like you said, I think technology does go in waves, and this one in particular is pretty exciting. I think AI has the potential to be very, transformative. Already, it's incredibly useful. You're able to go on ChatGPT or other AI providers, and already it's providing value to people, and you're able to use it. But we're really just at the start of it. I think ChatGPT 3.5 or whatever came out about a year and a half ago, and we know they're already working on more advanced models. So if you look forward a little bit, the potential for, I think what they're shooting for is sort of artificial general intelligence. And if that were to really come about, then I think it's going to open up a whole new wave of opportunity for businesses.
Absolutely, and it's kind of how it's leaping forward. Way back when we used to talk about semiconductor chips and Moore's law, and it would kind of doubling computer power and that, and it was that exponential increases. And I think that's going to be true of AI as well, Brian. But maybe give us a sense of some of what we're going to do. A do's and don'ts thing is how we're going to organize this, and I know it's like often people will race to criticize or point out how AI doesn't work. But I thought we'd start with the do's. So any thoughts for our audience in terms of the do's of AI?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of my do's might be a little bit on the cautious side as well, being a lawyer, but I'll just let you know some of the things I think about when I'm using it and when clients come to us for advice. I think one of the big things, and we've already advised a few clients on this, comes from the perspective of when you're partnering with an AI provider to help train their model or to even use one of the existing models. So the way these, artificial intelligence models work is, they rely on really large data sets that they churn through to train their models so that then they can work on it. And some of these companies have been approaching businesses that have data themselves to run the program on it and to train on it. And anytime you're talking about that, if you're a business that has a lot of data, you have to consider Canadian data privacy laws. So, for example, if you're an existing company with a large volume of, personal information, customer information, spending habits, et cetera, you might want to partner with an AI company like Amazon or Apple or OpenAI to bring their model in-house and to let it, look at all of your data and then see if it can have any insights in that. But you just have to keep in mind Canadian data privacy laws. The principal one is the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, PIPEDA, and that it imposes a number of obligations on businesses that retain personal information and data. And so you have to make sure that what you're doing is going to be complying with that.
Okay, that's great. So, and that's a good do. So you're, often people would say, don't do it, don't use it. But you're saying, you can partner with, for example, OpenAI to give them access to your data. So that's a do, but also be cautious about it. Right, Brian?
Yeah, exactly. And, it's a very complicated area of the law, data privacy, but there are experts out there like Perley-Robertson that can assist you in navigating that complexity.
Okay. I can imagine some of the things that's on your that are on your don't list, but let's get you to talk about them. So what are some of the don'ts when you think of AI?
One of the big don'ts, and again, I've already encountered this, is if you're partnering with an AI company, again, to hand over data, because there are Apple and OpenAI, they're going out there, they want access to this data, and they're out there trying to buy it from people. And so, as an example, let's consider, Ottawa Business Journal. It has 20, 30 or so years worth of articles that it's published. That might be really useful data to an artificial intelligence company to run its algorithm on it and to train on it. And as the owner, as OBJ, you would want to make sure that when you're handing that data over, that you have the full rights to do that. And what we're talking about really is the copyright that exists in some of that articles. So if you're someone in that situation, if you have employees that have been writing things for you or publishing things for you, that's a clearer sense of ownership. If they work for you, then you generally have the copyright to that, and it would depend on the employment contract. But if you're in the situation where you're bringing in outside authors, freelancers, that sort of thing, it's not necessarily clear who has the copyright ownership to that material. And so if you're going to be partnering with an AI company, you want to make sure that the data that you're handing over, let alone the data privacy that we just spoke about, but you want to make sure that you have the intellectual property rights to be doing that.
Thank you for bringing that one home. You made it very real for me. It's no longer a theory. You're right. Do we have the IP and copyright on material we could both share? That's a great do, and that's a great don't. And maybe we'll wrap up here in a second, Brian, but I guess the other thing I've talked to some of your colleagues about that we could touch on just briefly is just be cautious. So there's a temptation to let AI draft everything, right? To draft a sales agreement, an employment agreement, a contract with a major supplier. And, AIs can be useful, I think, in drafting some things, maybe more in marketing or content side. But talk to us, like, just for a minute about the danger of actually getting AI to draft legal agreements.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main takeaway is not to trust it too much, especially in areas where accuracy matters. So, like the example you use, like a marketing plan, or even I think people use them for content on LinkedIn or something like that. I think it's really useful for that. But when accuracy matters, you really have to make sure that you're reviewing what it does to ensure that's right. I mean, the way these models work is you're asking them to make things up. You're asking them to fabricate things. And there are examples where they have a tendency to fabricate things where accuracy matters. And an example that we talk about in law a lot is recently this happened down in the United States. There was an attorney who used an AI, I think it was OpenAI's model, to generate his pleadings before the court. And then he submitted it to the court. But it turns out that the model fabricated some case law. They were fake cases. They never existed. And he put that before the court. And he got in a lot of trouble, as you can imagine.
Isn't that something? I did read about that? And like that, those types of hallucinations, I guess they're calling them in AI, are just like terrifying. Like I just made up the case law. And can you imagine just standing there in court reading this case law and someone's like, that doesn't exist. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, what a terrible situation. Well, listen, Brian, you've done a great job for us. You gave us a great do. So explore, using your data, uploading it to AI. I think that's a sense. I'm not an expert in this. Is where you get the real power, where you're using AI with unique and careful access to your data, but be cautious. And the don't was a good one too, right? Copyright, and that might pertain to not only a media business, but lots of business. Brian, I want to thank you for your time today. Thanks for sharing some of your legal smarts with the technology community, and wishing you and your colleagues at Perley continued success. And a big thank you for supporting Techopia.
Thanks a lot. My pleasure.
All right, that was Brian Kells from Perley-Robertson, Hill and McDougall, one of the earliest supporters of Techopia, which is about a decade long. So we really appreciate their support. We hope Techopia is keeping you connected and informed. Let's keep building Ottawa's technology utopia. That is Techopia. See you soon. Bye-bye.